Hello everyone, I'm Coyote Jack. I'm from the creators of Water is Wet and the Sky is Blue. We had what people more likely to be unhappy, anxious, and depressed. New studies suggest. I'm loving this. I was laughing my ass off when I read this headline. Let's see what they have on this. Is ignorance bliss? Yeah, or even suffering. Well, both at this point they are masochists. Psychological researchers in Finland have created an assessment to help measure an individual's commitment to principles of social justice and made some surprising findings across the Finnish population. Ah man, including a negative correlation between progressive ideals and levels of happiness. Hmm, interesting. Their findings published in the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology suggest other Western nations may see similar patterns among their social conscious citizens. Study author Oskari Lahtinen, I hope I read that correctly, a senior researcher at the Invest Research Flagship Centre or Center at the University of Turku remarked that the woke discourse has since worked its way into Finnish discourse. Yeah, I said it that before that wokeness is in a lot of countries right now and has many languages depending what they are trying, part of the language they are trying to destroy with the whole inclusivity nonsense. This debate was largely data-free and it could thus be considered a worthwhile question to study how prevalent these studies attitudes are. He continued, no reliable and valid instrument existed prior to the study to assess the extent and prevalence of these attitudes in different populations. So I set out to develop one. Honestly, the the kind of studies we had already they are just self-made because those fucking retards likes to expose themselves and say the most insane nonsense. I infuriating to is a word to express the kind of bullshit they are just saying, or should I say they are just coming out of their mouths. Let's continue. Their research trajectory included extensive reading on intersectional feminism. Ah, we know that, like what happened with that dude in Mexico. We already know. Critical race theory. So you mean the racist. Queer theory. The chopping of dicks and breasts too. They are fucking degenerate. And other relevant academic disciplines that inform critical social justice, SciPost reports. The pilot survey included 151 adult participants, most of whom were associated with the University of Turku. Oh man! So this is kind of explanatory to. Sorry, I want look at what I'm trying to do. What the hell? Here is University of Turku. How many times since we are already aware of wokeness in college, they are just spreading, they are just indoctrination camps. If we look back into the US, that's how it all started. A lot of fucking gullible people fell into this, into the Kool-Aid. They drank it, and they just believed the same shit. And Finland looks like it's the same. They just decided to make participants that are just part of the University of Turku in this case. College itself is now an indoctrination system for wokeness. Is nothing good going now to fucking college. It used to be in the past, I graduated 4 years ago before this shit started to kick in, and I remember encountering feminists, and in Spanish, man, they was talking about yeah the gendered pronouns, or even feminist like it's ella, you mean the female them, and them ellos, the male them. But well, them ellos, the male version, it can be used to female too. But well, it's difficult to talk about common sense when the other party is just into fucking bliss. Let's continue. After refining the initial scale, the study was expanded to a more representative nation sample of 5,000 participants, distributed via Helsingin, yeah. I almost said Helsing. Sanomat, Finland's largest newspaper. In the end, their final critical social justice attitude scale identifies 7 truisms of woke people. If white people have on average a higher level of income than black people, it's because of racism. At this point, I should say that yeah, the whites that are in the company I work and they are winning more better than me. Are just going to use that right now? Seriously. Shit. Fucking hell. University reading list should include fewer white or European authors, despite most of them are white. You can include the POC people. I'm not against that, honestly. If they what they have is actually useful, send a good message, you can learn from that. I'm okay with having POC authors. I don't care with that. But well, the reality is the majority of people were that make a lot of books, a lot of research were mostly white. The second point is fucking racism at that point. Oh man. Microaggressions should be challenged often and actively. You know how Anita Sarkeesian said this? Everything is homophobic, everything is racist, and you have to point that out. That's why they are fucking miserable. The only thing they see is evil by the most tiniest fraction of a movement, of an action. Even breathing. They even just breathing in my own space when no one's around, they are going to call that microaggression. They are going to tell, what is a good thing? You should start breathing. You know how they operate. Trans women who compete with women in sports are not helping women's rights. Reverse court. They voted for this. They voted for this. Ah, man. We don't need to talk more about the color of people speak. But you are the one bragging about this. That's what I despise. They always fetishize black people for everything. About my racism, that yeah, they need more. They need more rights. Despite that, they are now the most privileged group of people in the US, in Europe. The Mohammeds destroying Europe. They have a lot of power, and are now the United Kingdom is just giving them even more power and money. And just because, well, people that are mostly white or even non-white people are calling this out. That yeah, they are the ones who are just committing the majority of crime. They are the most retarded because they didn't have a father or education. That's what it is. So even people saying they are just having in their DNA because, well, when you have a POC group just not actually teaching them values in society, that's why you end up with the black people in the US. In general, that's how you end up. Or the Muslims who are, again, they are just Minecrafting people in Europe and they are imposing the Sharia law as well, and they still bragging about color. The fucking irony on that, or the hypocrisy. Yeah, both words are combined with these pieces of shit. A white person cannot understand how a black person feels equally well as another black person. What did I say? They can't let go of racism. It's the most useful tool to just grieve and extortion people. A member of a privileged group can adopt features of cultural elements of a less privileged group. Reverse code. At this point, they give actual privilege in law. They have the right to vote. That's what pisses me off so much and makes me scared that, yeah, society is going to fall because some people, mostly women who are into feminism, the cocks and manginas who are just pushing for the same bullshit, they don't deserve the right to vote. I want a monarchy. It's far better than a fucking democracy controlled by women, manginas, at the expenses of men. But well, that's my opinion. Let's continue. The gender divide was probably most surprising to me. Lahtinen, Lahtinen, sorry if I'm not spelling that correctly, told Signpost of Finnish attitudes. 3 out of 5 women view woke ideas positively, but only 1 of 7 men. What did I say? Most women in general, they are the most gullible people around. Women in general. You rarely see a woman who actually is just calling this shit out. Very rarely women are defending men's right without, and it's difficult taking them seriously if some of the most of the grifters, well, women who are grifting about the men's issues, they just end up turning the conversation about them. I know there is a tiny fraction that don't do that. There are women who don't do that, but there is a very tiny fraction. I already repeated that. Let's continue. This was especially true of women in fields such as social sciences, education, and humanities. A fucking book that fucking New York Post have in their website. You seeing that? Well, by contrast, participants who worked on STEM were more likely to critique social justice efforts associated with being woke. However, the most concerning finding was the relationship between mental health and agreement with the scale. Because I say again, woke idiots, they are just indoctrinated into see evil into everything without realizing they are the fucking evil. And when they succeed, they have nothing left because at the same time they they wear the the pride flag, the feminism, the cock mentality as a skill suit. That's why they are miserable. It's even it's not fucking surprising that this is actually being told right now. It's late, but it is still there. Finally, work make people's life miserable. It's a fact. Let's continue. Specifically, researchers found a high prevalence of anxiety and depression in people who believe the statement: if white people have on average a higher income than black people is because of racism. More probably, they found out that those who identify as lesbian was more likely to report lower mental well-being. uh, yeah. Last name, I can't spelling that name wrong, warns against extrapolating their findings to international audiences just yet, particularly across Western nations. Yeah, they are going to bury that, just like how they buried the study about how piracy is a good thing at the end of the day, because yeah, it actually helps to deliver in places where people could be interested and helps to preservation. Ironically, that's how piracy is a good thing at the end of the day, despite the losses, stealing. Nah. And again, woke people is the one who destroyed video games. The studies were quite robust with a sample size about 5,000 as good psychometric properties. Lahtinen said, however, the scales will need to validate in North American samples in order to know how these attitudes manifest there. They're going to bury that. They're not going to allow that going on. Just like that, they try to bury the experiment of that feminist lesbian who dressed as a man and tried to live as a man and realized that yeah, men had it wrong. They are demonized constantly, and women are the most ghoulish pieces of shit when it comes to referring to men. How they refer to that in the most vile way. And she almost started to hate women despite her being a lesbian, and she couldn't bear it, and she decided to Minecraft herself. And all of her studies were in college. The fucking circles of life. I encourage colleagues in the United States to study the prevalence of these attitudes in the country where they originate from. They're not going to do that. In the US, at the end of the day, college is just an indoctrination tool for the Democrats and the left and the establishment, the tiny hats, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. But well, we can make a lot of this. They are miserable, and they will never have their mental wealth because they demonized a lot of their people, even their parents, just for virtue signaling. But well, that's pretty much everything I needed to say here. Everyone who watched this video, I hope you have a pretty good day.